Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream. My name is Jody Williams, and I am very happy to be here with you all. I'm happy to say that we are bringing this live stream on behalf of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit Education Association of Ontario. And this is a subject association that helps to support Indigenous education across the province. And so part of our work that we do is bringing in voices of Indigenous peoples to provide firsthand accounts of their lived experiences and to provide support through grades, right from kindergarten right through to grade 12. So just a little bit of logistics for you. Once we, after we're done our stream today, if you want to view the recording, you can go to our website, which is fnmieao.com. You click on the top corner here where you see events and webinars, and that will bring you to where we have our live stream that's happening right now. It'll be recorded and you will find it right here. And it's my pleasure to introduce our guest today. We're very lucky to have on with us Monica and Serapio, who are going to be sharing with us a bit about their life, their experiences, and the incredible gifts that they bring to us through their many books that have been published now on a variety of topics about the Inuit. And so I'm just going to introduce Monica and Serapio. So I'll just read a little bit about who they are, and then I'll turn it over to them. Monica is a survivor in every sense of the word. She was born in a winter camp called Akikamenik, 7 months premature in an igloo in the dead of winter. She went to 3 residential schools, one in Chesterfield Inlet, Northwest Territories at the time, which is now called Nunavut, Churchill, Manitoba, and St. Norbert, Manitoba. She is an educator who taught in elementary, high school, and now at Nunavut Arctic College. Now, I believe this is a bit older for Monica's bio here, so she can give us some updates as well. She has a master's degree and is now working at the Nunavut Teacher Education Program as language and culture instructor. She took several years off from the education field to work for Nunavut Tungavut Incorporated as well as a wellness coordinator, where she submitted a proposal to the Aboriginal Healing Foundation for a Nunavut-wide healing initiative, which was approved. She also sat on 2 panels with the Law Commission of Canada, one with residential school abuse and the other with institutional abuse. Monica has over 25 grandchildren, and I was told this morning this is an older bio, and she has many more now with her and Serapio, which is incredible, and 2 great-grandchildren. She has recently reclaimed the traditional sewing techniques of making caribou and sealskin clothing, along with the more contemporary styles of parka and amote making. She has also mastered the art of drum dancing. Serapio was born in a Karmak sod house at Okunik between Hall Beach and Igloolik, Nunavut on February 1st, 1945. He went to residential school in Chesterfield Inlet, Nunavut, and Fort Churchill, Manitoba. He has studied art, jewelry making, and metalwork at Ottawa School of Art and Nunavut Arctic College, and is a certified journeyman mechanic. Serapio comes from a long line of walrus hunters. He organizes walrus hunts from his summer camp every year. He also goes caribou hunting with family and friends. He now lives in Toronto, Ontario with his wife. So we are just delighted to have with us here Monica and Serapio. So welcome. And I'm going to turn it over to you now to introduce yourselves, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so my bio is about 10 years old. I have worked for Inuit Education, a national Inuit organization, as national Inuit language coordinator to standardize the writing system. But right now I'm working for Inhabit Education, where we publish Inuktitut books for Nurut schools. And Serapio's book, How I Survived, is one of the books that is going to be used in the school about his story that he's going to talk about this morning. And we've lived here for 3 years now, almost 3 years now. And I'm going to turn 70 next week. And my husband will be 76 3 days after that. And so Serapio speaks some English, but he's more fluent in Inuktitut. So I said that I would, talk about his book, but he will be answering questions if that's okay. Okay, so are you gonna upload it or am I?
Sure. Which one would you like me to put up first?
How I Survived.
Okay.
So this happened right after Christmas, just before New Year's. In Igloolik, where it's minus 40, sometimes minus 50. And there's total darkness. Well, there's only 3 hours of daylight, as it's written in the book. So the book starts out with him, like another elder invited him to go to a fishing camp, and but it so happened that the man turned back because his snowmobile broke down, but Serapio went ahead to the fishing camp. So he was alone. He got the mukta that his son had sent. So this fishing camp is between Arctic Bay and Igloolik, so it's quite far. It's about 6 hours snowmobile ride. And so this story was done in graphic art. I'm going to turn the page. So Serapio Ittusardjuat, and illustrated by Matthew Hardy. So he went up there and he wanted to, can you turn the page?
I only have the front page of this book.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. But so the way the story goes is that the headlight wouldn't work, so he lost the track. And so he found himself amongst the ice, in when the ice is forming and there's wind, the ice breaks up and they freeze, and it's very rough ice and hardly any snow. And well, I have a copy of the digitized a digitized copy of this, so I'm going to try and upload that one so I can turn the pages. Anyway, so he was trying to ride, but it got so rough that it was more of a hardship because he was trailing kamuti, which is sled, where his equipment and some food. And he would get stuck. And so he ended up unhitching the kamuti and left it there. But before he went on, he had something to eat. And then he kept going until he couldn't, his skidoo broke down. His snowmobile broke down. And he tried to see what was wrong with it, but he couldn't really tell. So he thought he would go to sleep because it was dark by then. And he wanted to find out what was wrong when he woke up. But anyway, when he woke up, he found that there was something wrong with the carburetor.
The choke.
Oh, the choke.
Choke cable broke.
Yeah, and it was leaking. So, and the kisokrenika nusuta pull cord. The pull cord broke also. And so he couldn't get it going. And he was in the middle of the ice. Anyway, at that time he had a major surgery, and he couldn't walk back because he got tired easily. And anyway, he had store-bought shirt. If he started walking, he would sweat, and that would turn to ice, and he might die of hypothermia. So it's only when you wear caribou skin with the fur inside, the inner, and another one on top of it with the fur outside. The fur inside is to keep the warm air in, and the fur outside is to keep the cold air out. But he didn't have those. So he slept on his snowmobile, and he got thirsty, and the elders traditional knowledge, he was told that he's not supposed to, don't ever chew ice, because when your mouth gets frozen, you're going to get sores, and it's not nice. It's a matter of life and death. Anyway, so what you see in the book is an illustration of how he made, he melted ice. The way he melted the ice was, there was some gas in his can, and so he made a bowl he formed a bowl on the ice, and another one just below it. So he formed two pieces of ice like this, and he lit the gas, and it melted the ice, which flowed to the lower bowl where it's good water. And so he brushed the soot from the top and he drank from that. So he was taught that from the elders.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's amazing. And, you know, and to, I just want to reiterate for the kids who are watching the importance of clothing, that there's a reason why animals and all the parts of the animals are used, because it provides special kinds of clothing because of how cold it is.
yeah. And so he tried to walk around a bit, but he had to make sure that his feet didn't get wet and therefore freeze. So he would get on his snowmobile. And anyway, this went on for 3 nights and 3 days. And he had one more night. He stayed one more night there. He would hear a plane, but he only had one of these little pocket flashlights, not very strong. Thought I had one over here, but must have moved it. Anyway, so the plane couldn't see him, and he got thirsty again, and he tried to melt some more ice, but I guess the gas.
I
There's
try to put the filter with the snow.
oh, okay, and it didn't work well, so he had to spit it out. And so he was very thirsty, and he wasn't allowed to chew ice. And there's hardly any snow, so he couldn't build an igloo. And like he tried to walk around that that morning, but he fell. He couldn't stand up. He fell, and he was wondering why. He tried to get up again, but he couldn't get up, and he was wondering why he couldn't do that. So, but he kept telling himself, uh, I'm going to get up. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to just give up, you know. So he willed himself to get up and walk. He walked around, and but he had to get back to his snowmobile to prevent his feet from getting wet and therefore freeze. So this was the time when it's -50 and only 3 hours of daylight. And all he could do that night was try and sleep. But he heard some engine. And so my cousin George and his crew came. So he had this little flashlight, and he flashed it to where he could see light from a snowmobile, and that's how they found him. And so they had gone to the fishing camp, and he had left his medication there, and that's how they found his tracks and started tracking him and found him on the 4th night. So he was brought to town. He was brought to my place. First, he had gone to his aunt, that's his elder, first before coming home. So he would drink some water, and then drink some tea, drink some water, and then drink some tea, drink some water, and drink some tea. But by that time, we thought, oh, we better take him to the health center. And he was got an IV for dehydration, but he had a lot to drink by that time. But So you can see how dehydrated he was. And I guess that time he couldn't feel it, but a few days later he noticed that his heel had frozen. So I guess he couldn't feel it because it was frozen. And when he started feeling it, it aches and it hurts and it's very ugly. So if you have any questions, anybody?
That is an incredible story.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, we're all very happy that you made it and you're here with
Yeah.
us today to share this incredible story that's captured now in this beautiful book that I hope people will use in their classrooms. We've sent out the link to your book to share that as well. And there are questions, but I'm wondering, Monica, do you want to talk about this picture of you when you were younger, or do you want some of the questions now?
Well, let me explain first about his book. You know,
Yes.
when you um, study the book in school, you might want to talk about the many hardships and you know, and the problems that he encountered and how he you know, survived, and talk about the traditional knowledge that was passed down from generation to generation by mouth, word of mouth, because we didn't have a writing system at the time. We only the knowledge was shared from the elders to the younger generation, and that's how he knew about this, how to drink, how to melt water, and how to keep his mitts warm, and how to keep his feet warm. Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about. Thank you.
There is a question around how would your feet get wet in the extreme cold?
Like his feet are warm, so when he walks around, and it's salty.
The professional on the ice, it gets left sometimes.
Slush? Yeah. Okay.
It's, that's, when ice is getting about thicker, it'd be dry before it's too thicker, and the slush could be on top of the ice.
So, and yeah, snow and salt are slushy, eh? Them in a slushy, yeah. That's where he was at the ice.
So yeah, let's talk about, do you want me to show this picture?
Yes, please.
The pictures, it's incredible. And it's very special. So I'm going to put it up here and then let's talk about this. Baby Monica.
Yeah, there I am. My mom is holding me, trying to hide herself from the whoever's taking the picture. And they're supposed to be facing towards us, but as you can see, they look very shy. My father and my brother, me as a baby. She would carry me in her amauti on her back. And as you can see, we're all wearing caribou skin, the inner clothing of caribou skin. And if we were going out like on a duck team, we will put another layer with the fur outside to keep the cold air out. And this is the inner with the fur inside to keep warm air to keep it inside next to our skin. And as you can see on the walls, we have magazines pasted. And so this is in a kangmak, a sod house that my father made for the winter. It's a winter home. And my mother would have a kulak in front of her, stone eye lamp. And you can see my brother's wearing a one-piece suit, caribou suit. So this was taken before we went to residential school, before any residential schools were in Nunavut at the time. Probably looked like I'm about 2 years old. How many?
In 54.
This one.
Kasi
50, maybe 2 years old at the time, 1953. I was born in 51. So this picture must have been taken 52 or 53.
And what were some of the things, what was life like before residential schools came in and interrupted everything?
Okay, the way we were taught was by like our elders would tell us stories, and then we would play games like find the thimble, and we had to hide the thimble on something, not behind something, not out of sight, but in plain view. And it was because, we had to be able to find, for instance, a rabbit on the white snow, a white rabbit on the white snow, or a white ptarmigan on white snow, to sharpen our eyesight. And things like we would play, which is when it was my turn, I would be blindfolded and I would say, here's the doorway, here's the pantry, here's the bed, here's and so on and so forth, and I'd go round and round, and I would try to touch somebody, and the other kids would try and stay quiet, because then the first person I would tag would be it. And so that was, that was their way of introducing words from our surrounding, what we call stuff like vocabulary, developing vocabulary. And this is before we went to sleep. This was we didn't know how to read English at the time, because this was before residential school. And that age looks like, that aksara, but how do you call it in English? Like one person would take it with right hand, and the other person would take the other H on the other hand, and they would try to, have a competition as to who would win. It's for strength, competition of strength. And the S would be, you're trying to be the, you're trying to find as many H's as you can, and the one who finds more H's wins, or S's like snakes or worms or something like that. Anyway, at bedtime we would also play other games that develop our mind. And this one we would play the string game, and there were things like wall, the doorway, and so on. This was for me to help me flex my fingers so that I'll be able to sew when I get older. And their way of helping me to remember stories, and we would, you know, say the poems that go with the string games there. And my father made me wooden dolls, and my mother would cut up patterns for clothing, and I would sew them. I was left-handed at the time. I could sew when I was left-handed, but when I went to school, I don't know how they did it, but they made me right-handed. So I lost the art of sewing when I became right-handed. But this was early, you know, attempt to learn how to sew when we were quite little, you know, 4 or 5. Yeah. And the boys would play real, like, so this is a dog team, and the dogs are like a femur of a seal. And he was taught how to tell the dogs to turn left or to turn right, whatever. They had certain terminology for hushing the dogs. And the boys were taught to go hunting, how to skin a seal by watching, and then the elders would know when they could start doing things that skills that they learned by watching. And we were taught to respect our elders and to visit them, even though we didn't have anything to say, just in case, you know, they needed help, like fetch some ice for drinking water or doing other chores for them. Yeah, we were taught to help whenever we could. And we're taught stories. That's how knowledge was passed on from one generation to another. We're told some legends, songs, and stories, and so on. And we were also shown how to do softened skins, caribou skins, seal skins. And like when our mother was doing it, she would explain to us, and we would try and do the same thing that she was doing, what she was doing, just for practice.
What would what would the temperature be like in the sod house? How would you heat it?
Heat it with a khulak, zero oil lamp. Like a khulak is at the top, and the alak is beside the doorway. My husband's gonna show you my khulak, and so it got quite warm. You didn't need to wear a coat here. They're wearing a coat there, but when you're inside, you didn't need to wear a coat. It was that warm.
So I'm going to take the picture off so that when Serapio comes back, we can see, have a good, can you see this?
Here's a khuluk that I made.
Beautiful.
Soapstone, made of soapstone. So you put oil in here, and you place a wick over here, and you light it, and the flames are here. Like we would have big khulak. My mom would have a big khulak, but this one's a little travel one that I made.
And that's amazing. It would be enough to heat the inside.
And here's a takut. It's to control the flames. Like I would be controlling them like this, getting them bigger or extinguishing them or whatever. So that's a takut that I made, and it's beautiful.
Do you have to, when you're carving, do you have to carve it in water, or can you carve it as the raw material?
No, you carve it. There's different stages. The rough stage is
Like the thing is that was done, but you drill it first. Drill it first and that. Trying to tapping
chip it.
tip it out. And using a file to get it smooth and even. Like if you want to make it even, grab a pencil and with your finger like that. But draw lines first, and then that's how you get it even.
It's only at the last stages when you start to
Sanding.
oh yeah, it's in the last stages. When you're sanding it, you do it with water too, you know.
It's beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's some questions.
Yes.
Because we don't have a whole lot of time left. It's amazing how fast the time goes.
Yeah.
So some of the questions that have been asked are, what is it like right now at this time of year in Nunavut? What would the weather be like?
There's a easterly wind, prevailing wind, and it's cold in January. When the sun comes up, it seems colder than before. Like the sun came up in Igloolik on the 14th, I hear. 14th, January 14th. Yeah. When we were there last, it came up January the 12th. So the sun comes up, it sets in November, and it comes up January 12th, January 14th, around that time. So the sun is up now, and it's still cold. Like you can see that it's -30, between -30 and -40. And February, it can go to -50, between 50 and -60. And when your breath turns to crystals, when you have a cup of water and you kind of splash it outside, you can see ping, 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 them turning to ice, nice little ice crystals. So you can't go out without a hat. You have to have a hat and a hood and a scarf. You have to have mitts. If you don't have fur trim around your hood, your nose will freeze in 2 minutes. So you need a hood with fur trim. Yeah. And you need, okay, kisiko ilipan, long johns, socks, jeans, thick socks, duffel socks, wind pants, a shirt, a sweater, a jacket, and a parka.
So you're layered up.
Yep.
But then when you, when you're inside, it's warm.
Inside, right now, it's modern housing with electricity and heating. So, but
Do anyone still live traditionally, or is it? Is there any? Is there anyone trying to revitalize that way and
they
live
did,
it more traditionally?
they did here and there, but I think the ones who were like my mom and dad, my uncle and his family lived in outpost camp until they were, I don't know, maybe our age. And but they had wooden housing. Like they started shipping up wood, so they started making not a cottage, but screen iglora.
Copy.
They started building cabins out in the outpost camps. Yeah, so they have the
Yeah.
Hunters and Trappers Association of each community have built like little shacks here and there with some fuel, it's like an emergency shelter in case somebody got lost or their snowmobile broke down or for some reason it's an emergency shelter. Like what happened to him, he would need emergency shelter.
What would you say? What is the greatest challenge living up north? And maybe we'll do it in two ways. Before, when you were young growing up, what would have been the greatest challenge? And is it different today? Is there new challenges today?
Well, our dads were and our brothers were traditional hunters, so they knew how to hunt, and they were full-time hunters, and they provided food for the family. But there were times when they weren't successful, and sometimes you got hungry. But they had dogs, and if there wasn't enough food for the dogs, that would be challenging because that was the only way of traveling. And, so when we lived in those days, there didn't seem to be any challenges.
Yeah. We used to go walrus hunting during the winter on the floating ice. It's coming in the tide is coming in. Sometimes going going out before the wind change from south to the east or west. Sometimes the tide would open up the water. Sometimes we usually spent the night on the floating ice. That was cold. From the steam from the cold water, just like up north, just like a big smoke. The steam,
Just too cold.
too cool. Yeah, to spend the night on frozen ice, it's cool.
Yeah, if the wind changed and the new ice would break up and the hunters would float out until the tide changed and they could come back. So that was challenging for them.
Wow. Yeah. That would be something. Um,
So
today,
another challenge
yeah,
would be if they didn't get any enough caribou skin in the fall, so, because they used to hunt caribou skin in the fall for clothing, and there wasn't enough to go around because they used to share all their caribou skins and decide. Women would decide this will be a good uh, coat for a man. This would be a good pair of pants for a woman, and so on and so forth. So they would share their skins and decide what to do with them. Yeah.
so I think it's really important that the kids that are watching this today really, hopefully, they're hearing how important the relationship with the land is and
Mhm.
how important community is. And that although things have changed, maybe there's a way we can, look to how can we get back to some of these important things.
Yeah.
Let's bring back our community ways and these traditional ways. We can still be modern,
Mhm.
but still be back to that deep connection to the land is so important.
Yeah, because as we were growing up, we were taught to be aware of everything around us, use our hearing, use all our senses, hearing, sight, touch, and just be aware of everything, the weather and the condition of the snow or ice, and when to go hunting and everything. Like we and the rearing technique was to make a human being. Inyong ngoksay no? For you to be able to um, solve any problem that came up, uh, for you to be aware of what's happening and how to solve your problems and what to do in every situation. And your senses were so well tuned that you had a sixth sense. And it sometimes, um, Innu would be like shamans. They weren't shamans, but they were like shamans because they knew everything. They knew stories. They knew about the weather. They know, like, they sense you. They sense each other, and they sense what's going to happen, and you know. And now here in the city, it's so noisy, and like last time I went seal hunting, and we were about half a mile away from each other or a quarter of a mile, depending on the seal holes. And it's a warm day in June, and we're so quiet. I could hear the snow melt. Like, the little beads at the bottom of the ice, you could hear them melt. And so that's how well tuned our hearing would become. Even you could hear silence. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something that is lost with
Mhm.
not being out on the land, and for so many kids today being so disconnected from nature. And um, I would say that part of why a lot of kids are struggling is because we're not on the land,
Yeah.
we're not spending that time. And we do this education in school now today, but what if we could go back to school is from the land? I think that might be a really good way forward for education, to go back to learning from the land, learning from the snow. I think that's so beautiful to, maybe that's our challenge for kids today listening. Go outside and see, can you hear the snow?
Mhm.
Can you hear the snow melting? What does it sound like? What does it, if you close your eyes, what does it feel like? I think that's such a good reminder for all of us that we take the time to do these things. So we're coming close to the end of our time. There's so many questions that we couldn't get to or answer, but maybe to start to wrap up, what's a message that you have for kids that are listening in today, that um, in terms of the importance of learning from the Inuit or Inuit education? What is something you want them to know?
For me, I think if somebody got lost, um, and you knew the names of the stars and how they would look at a certain time of the day, it would help you to find out where you are. Or you, if you look at the flow edge and it's dark above in the clouds, that's where the sea is. And you look at the, how the prevailing winds form like a tongue on the ice, and they're formed like this, and that would help you how to, what direction to go home, stuff like that. Just be aware. Like, it's about science, it's about weather, it's about you have to know science, you have to live science. Like, you have to be scientific, you have to have scientific knowledge. So that's like more like traditional knowledge, because you work with the weather, work with the snow, and there's, I don't know how many names, different names of snow, that, because they're so well acquainted with, what kind of snow would be good for building igloo, what kind, so on and so forth, you know. So know science, learn science.
Beautiful. Yes, and I think I'm so glad that you said that traditional knowledge is very scientific. It's very mathematical. It's all of these things, and so much more. It's intuition. It's everything, like you said, that makes us a human being, a good human being, a kind human being. So I just want to say again, thank you so much for spending this hour with us this morning. I hope that all the students that are watching, that they've learned a little bit more, that they continue to look for opportunities to learn and listen to beautiful people like yourselves. So we're going to sign off for the day here. Is there anything you want to say in terms of a farewell, a goodbye?
Thank you for inviting us. It's always nice to remember our traditional culture, and I was good to share. And it's like going back from where we came from. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for tuning in today. I'll be following up with anyone who's registered with the link to the recording, but hopefully you remember from what I said at the start, it is on our website. You can find this recording there. And we hope to see you the next time. Stay safe.